Hey everybody, it's Tuesday.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And all day it's not felt like Monday or Tuesday. So
No, it sure hasn't.
it throws me off when you say that, which is funny. But thanks everybody for being here. It's definitely going to be a great edition of The Night Bite. And we have lots to talk about, but I guess we always start with a fishing report. So where do we begin with this last weekend?
Hey, we did a lot better, I think. We did we go Saturday?
Yes, we did. But that's the thing is it was windy.
Eclipsed.
It was so windy
Yeah, we did.
that honestly, okay, here's the deal is I feel like a broken record. That's why I laughed when I deferred this to you as I was going to say, what are you going to say different this week from the other weeks? And because here's why. We are setting up in this pattern of fall where it has been windy and it hasn't been like super cold until recently. And so fish have been in this like scattered transition pattern. You know, they're not fully in summer. They're not fully in winter, which would make sense. You know, obviously we're in fall, but they are in a true scattered pattern. They are not doing what I want them to do in fall. They are not schooling up or kind of weren't. And I think some of that is that transition, but that wind every weekend, this is what we say, you know, if there was less wind, because we've been finding actually some really light and delicate bites. And honestly, I've been downsizing, which is kind of a bummer because sometimes in fall you talk about the opposite, right? But I've been almost using some of my winter plastics and all of that kind of stuff. And so when we went out on Saturday and it was windy and we were like, man, if it was less windy, we would have caught some of these fish. And that sounds like an excuse. That does, right? How many times have we been out there and you say that? But this magic thing happened on Sunday is that although it was windy to begin with, the wind actually started to calm down through the afternoon and into the evening. And so then what happened is as those gusts were dying down, we started catching honestly more fish in like the dead wind or like between the gusts, you know what I'm saying? And so all of a sudden it was like a few more and then a few more and a few more. And then, you know, by the time the wind had really calmed down a good amount, and then we were honestly, and then here's what happened is when the wind calmed down and evening settled in, that's when the crappies started to bite. And so all day we were finding, you know, bluegills and you found a perch here and there and even a bass here and there. But once that wind calmed down, once that evening started to settle in, all of a sudden the crappies came out. And then all of a sudden we were catching fish. And so if we think about our weekend and we're like, how was fishing? And I want to be like, oh, it was like pretty good. But that's because it was the last hour of being out there. The rest of it was not quite that rewarding. You don't think so?
I don't really think so. I think so Saturday we kind of just the reason I don't remember it very well is because it was like 2 hours. And for some people, that's like all of their fishing. And for us, it's like 5 minutes. Right. And so, but we went out there and we did learn a little bit. You know, we may not have caught too many fish, but we did a lot of moving around. And what we found out was no matter where we were on this particular lake, it was the magic depth was between 13 and 17 feet, right? There was fish in smaller schools that were suspended like out over deeper water, and there was smaller fish in bigger schools up shallower, but the fish that seemed to be eating were kind of like in that middle zone. And so we figured that out. We caught a couple before dark. We went back to that same place on Sunday as soon as we could. And I think what helped us, why it may have seemed like that to you, Emily, that we caught more towards the evening was that we were doing a lot of moving around initially, right? We were trying to, we'd see a few fish on the screen, we'd catch a couple, and then you wouldn't see any. So then we moved a little bit, and then you'd see some. And what I kind of found out, what I was kind of starting to realize is that every time I moved the boat, the fish moved just a little bit further. And we'd catch a couple on the fringes, but they'd move out away from the boat. As soon as I stopped that boat, sometime in middle afternoon, and we just hung out there, put the spot lock on, sat there, and it was dead for maybe 20 minutes. But then fish started filtering back in, and even some of them even just sat under the boat. They wouldn't bite, but they just sat under the boat. And then there'd be schools coming in and out. And then towards that afternoon, evening, like you said, the crappies started moving in, and you could see because they would be like 2 or 3 of them. They'd come around, and you could like pick one out or grab a couple. We had a couple doubles, and then they'd be gone, and then we catch some bluegills, and then that's kind of how it went. And so just hunkering down, picking a depth, and as the night kind of progressed, we actually ended up moving a little bit shallower, and the fish kind of went up shallower. But I think that's just following food. The bite did shut off once it got dark, and so we just kind of left it there. But yeah, it was a lot of learning, and it was it was some fun.
All right. So, I feel like we could talk about this all night, but we have a really fun and exciting guest to get to. So what I'm going to say, first is that Josh was about to switch things on the screen. I was going to say that we have some great reports coming in the comments as well. So let us know where you guys are at. Let us know where you're fishing, or if you're fishing, or if you winterized your boat, or what your water temps are, or whatever applies to your situation. That's a whole bunch of different things. But the nice thing about this is as we get ever closer to ice season, it's super fun to watch these trends. So I bring that up because we had a post earlier in the week, and we had friends in Canada who are already moving towards ice season. And I don't think the rest of us are that close yet, but we want to hear as we start getting to that point. So the theme of tonight was catching fish, and I think that theme is going to continue because there's some fun stuff to help us catch fish, and that is going to be brought to all of you guys by our guest, Grandpa Jimmy. So let's bring him in. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we got some time before the show to meet you and start chatting. But there's a bunch of people here. This is their first time meeting you. So can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I sure can. I live in Alexandria, Minnesota, which is it's right on I-94, halfway between Fargo and Minneapolis. And we're right in the lakes area, right at the start of the lakes area. From here all the way to Canada, it's all water. And I'm an Air Force veteran. I spent some time in the Air Force fixing F-15s and F-111s and F-4s. And so I'm retired, and about 8 years ago, I've been ice fishing for 50 years. So all I basically do is fish in the summer and fish in the winter. And just a common fisherman. And amazing thing happened. It was just, now we're going back 8 years here. Buddy of mine, he's probably 70 some at the time, but it's 8 years ago. And we were trying to find some crappies with portable fish houses before we moved our big 8x12s in and set up shop. And he called me and he said, "Hey, Jimmy," he said, "I found them." He said, "I got 12 really nice crappies." And, but he said, "Gosh," he said, "5 got back down the hole." And I thought, "Oh, that's too bad." But, I didn't feel sorry for him because, he catches more fish than he needs anyway. So, so the next day we pulled out our 8x12, and first we, cleared the snow away with some scoop shovels and pulled the house in and banked it up nice and drilled the holes, did the whole deal and got the slush out and turned the heaters on and sat down to fish. And gosh, it was just about sundown, and sure enough, here them crappies come back in again. And I'm watching my hole, and he's behind me, and he says, "I got one coming in here." And I didn't even turn around to look, but all of a sudden I heard his chair go flying across the room, and he's down. I heard this stud, and he's down on his knees, his arms in the hole, and the fish is gone. And I thought, well, that's life, So a couple minutes later, his chair goes flying across the room, and I hear this stud, and he's back down on the arm down the hole. And I says, "Roger," I says, that's hard on your knees." He said, "Yeah." He said, "That one hurt a little bit." So, like I say, I wasn't feeling too bad for him, but all of a sudden my bobber goes down, and well, you got two options. You can try to hoist the fish up, and then if it falls off, you need to slide your chair back, get down on your hands and knees and stick your arm down the hole and try to grab it. Otherwise, I'm a little more conservative. I just done all the work and stuff. I'm not going to lose my dinner. So I slide my chair back and get down on my hands and knees and, slowly bring the crappie up and reach under it and grab it and pull her back in again. And so then I pulled my chair back over and grabbed the chair and pulled myself up. I'm getting a little older, and pull the chair back up and sit down and start fishing again. And I look over, and the other bobber went down. And so then I get up and go over there and get down on my hands and knees and get under the fish, and try to pull it up like they do, and because I'm not doing all that work and stuff and then not taking home dinner. So I bet it was 10, 12 times I was up and down, and I thought, God, that's kind of like going to the fitness center, and so I went home, and the next day I went to I looked down the hole and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be nice? You do all the work and spend all your time. Wouldn't it be nice if once you got the fish in the hole, it's going to be kind of in the dinner plate, or you take a picture and let it go or whatever. But so I went to the sheet metal shop and got some scrap sheet metal, and I thought I'm going to fix a little gadget here so the fish won't get away from me. So the first thing that I understood was the trap on the bottom of the hole had to sit on the side of the hole, because anything under the ice would get your line tangled and cut your line, especially if the fish went around the hole a couple times. So I made a spoon-like deal and put it on a piece of, well, I had aluminum at the time, and up to the top. And then I thought, oh, I need a foot pedal of some kind. So I put a hinge on the top, and I had a hinge on the bottom. And I thought, well, I need to connect them. So instead of getting a rod or something, I just got some heavy-duty parachute cord. And I tied it onto the bottom plate, and I tied it onto my little foot pedal that I made and stepped on it, and god darn, the thing shut the hole. I thought, you got to be kidding me. So first night I went out and like I say, I just had a straight, on the end of it, it was just a straight piece of steel or aluminum. So I just screwed it into the floor of my fish house right next to the hole. I just had card or plywood floors and stuff, didn't bother me any. And god darn, that thing worked to beat heck. Every fish got caught. And then we'd take an ice dipper or something and scoop it out. And I thought, God, this is the neatest thing I ever seen. So all of a sudden, everybody that I fished with, they all wanted one. So I thought, well, I suppose I could start making them. I had no intention of going into business. You know, a lot of people, it's their dream to make money fishing, and God bless the ones that do, because 99% of them, it's a long road to hoe. And especially these pro fishermen, they fish all the tournaments all around and spend money in gas and hotels and trying to hit the big one. But here I am in the fishing industry, and so I figured, well, I'll make it out of solid steel, heavy duty steel, so the thing will last forever. And so I found a company that would make the steel for me and got it all put together. And so I thought, well, I might as well apply for a patent. Well, if you ever done that again, it's kind of a lesson in patents here, because I've never done it before, but I got a hold of a patent attorney. A buddy of mine turned me on, and so I applied for the patent in February of 2017. And he said, well, it's going to take about 18 months to hear anything. It was almost 2 years. And I thought, well, this is a slam dunk, because I've never seen one, and nobody I've talked to have ever seen one. But after 18 months, we got turned down. They said they found something in the patent archives that, it was a rod that goes inside of a rod that's hooked to a plate that goes under the ice, and it's 180 degrees away from the hole, and then you just turn the rod, and then that plate comes around and covers your hole. But it's all underneath the water, underneath the ice. So all that fish has to do is go around the hole one time. On you catch a walleye or northern, even a nice sized crappie, they go around the hole one time, and your line's cut off. So they denied my patent for that thing. So I said, well, this is crazy.
That is
so
crazy.
I got together with my patent attorney, and we said, well, let's, we appealed it and reapplied. I said, wow, this is going to be a slam dunk, for God's sakes. Never heard of it. Nobody's ever seen one. So almost a year later, we got turned down again the second time. Well, they found some gadget back in the archives about 40 years ago that it kind of resembled, I don't know, years ago they had something, I don't know if they called it the gotcha thing or whatever, but had a little clamper on the end, and if you lost a sock behind the dryer or something, you could clamp and grab it, Well, you'd have to grab that with your hand and then try to clamp on that fish while he's going around and around the hole, splashing back and forth, and you're going to knock more fish off back down the hole than you're ever going to catch. So I thought, well, we appealed it. We applied again. Applied for the patent the third time. Third time's the charm. Not for me. They denied me the third time again. They said, now mine's, I've got an extension on mine. You can lower it if the ice gets a little thicker, or if you're fishing in a wheelhouse, you're, 10, 12 inches off the ice, you need a little bit longer. So I've got an extension on it that goes down. And well, they found something else that had an extension on it. Well, here it's an auger carrier for the front of a four-wheeler. Well, you got to be kidding me, So my patent attorney got a hold of the patent office and had a powwow with some of the managers down there, and he said, "You guys ain't got nothing like this thing." So they said, "Okay, we're gonna allow your patent," and it was 3 years short of 5 years
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
that I got turned down 3 times and finally got it approved. So, but the good thing is, the whole time that all this was going on, we're consistently fishing with it and trying to make improvements. And one of the biggest obstacles we had is I had this fish trap made out of steel, but how do you mount it on the floor of your fish house? How do you mount it if you're sitting out on the ice, just on the open ice? And so out on the open ice, we took a 4-inch leg bolt. We just screwed it into the ice with a leg bolt. Well, that worked, but just had to bring your drill along. Well, in the fish house, we said, well, let's mount it on a board. So we went and got a sheet of treated plywood, and they worked. It was, they're about a foot long and 8 inches wide, and we just attached it to the board and set the board down. And well, but the plywood was a little bit light and a little spindly, and I didn't like it. So I got a buddy that helps me, Dennis, and he used to work in a cabinet shop, and he said, well, let's go for oak, solid oak. So we buy these solid oak boards and we cut them into foot long, and then we router the edges and cut a nice half moon on them so they fit up to your hole. And then we sand them and stain them and dry them, and they're just absolutely gorgeous. And we got a little locking system where you can lock the steel fish trap right on this oak board. You can just set it down next to your hole in your fish house. So if you got a nice, expensive fish house with a nice floor, a vinyl floor, or if you got an aluminum fish house, you just set it next to your hole. Or if you're fishing out on the ice, you just set it right next to the ice, set it on the ice right next to your hole. So you can sit out on the ice in a lawn chair with your coffee and your sandwich, and as soon as that fish comes up, you just step on the foot pedal and your fish is caught. No, you don't have to fish on your hands and knees down in the slush anymore. So it's operated 100% with your foot control. You just step on the foot, and the trap shuts on the bottom, and your fish is caught. And the nice thing is you can keep your 2 hands on your fishing rod. And it operates on gravity, so as soon as you take your foot off of the foot pedal, it opens back up again for the next fish. So
Nice.
So we're ready to go. So all of a sudden, I called my manufacturer and I said, okay, let's start making them. He said, well, no, the next thing happened was COVID. Well, then nobody's fishing and everything was shut down. So once COVID was passed, I decided let's start making them, get the manufacturer going and stuff, and making my steel. Well, I had to go to 10 different companies because half of them quit during COVID and the other half had double the work. So, and then like I say, in the last couple of years here, we've had poor ice and stuff. So we're just getting ready for a major launch, and we're going to be at the Wisconsin Ice Fishing Show, and we're going to be in St. Paul, and we're going to be in Duluth. So anyway, if you have any questions so far.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I loved every bit of that story because you said so many things in there that I probably would have pointed out about how people are so often dying to get into the fishing industry, create a product, an invention. They have something in their head. How do they do it? Actually, this is really funny that we're talking about this because so often we have guests on and they're like, oh, I just what about it? And it happened, and they make it sound easy, and they don't talk about the details, and it is not that easy, and I think that's why it's important to talk about. And so, it is terrible that you had to go through all of that. But on one hand,
yeah, well,
I really appreciate hearing your experience.
I talk to people all the time, and they say, well, I've got an idea too. Then a lot of people have ideas, and if you think if it's marketable, use it a while. And if it's a game changer and you got some people that are impressed with it, you just got to pin your ears back and go for it.
So while we were talking about this, or while, we were listening, we posted the website, the link. So if people want to check it out, you are welcome to just click on that link and you'll be able to see it. But there is also, we pulled this up on the screen and I expected it just to be the picture on the front, but look at this, you found even this video. So this is a super cool example. Oh, look at that, even a crappie.
Yeah. And, the interesting thing is I made it for crappies because, that's what I was fishing for at the time. But actually, if you scroll through the videos on the website, we were fishing just west of Alexandria here. And a buddy of mine, his bobber went down and he's bringing the fish in. And God, it's a walleye. And that walleye comes up to the top of the hole. Well, I stepped on the fish trap. And he reaches down for the walleye. Well, the walleye opened his mouth and he's shaking his head back and forth, and he's got pretty big teeth. And I says, "Get your fingers out of there," because quite often I see on Facebook that a guy's got a few stitches in his thumb, but if you get a longer fish than what you got the fish trap set at, because we were fishing in 13 inches of ice, and it's actually on the website. There's a video of it, but this was a 27-inch walleye.
Oh.
So half of him wasn't even in the hole, but it'll just pin the fish right up to the side of the hole until you get down on your hands and knees to grab him under the gill or wherever you're going to get him out of there. So it doesn't matter how long or short your fish is. You can just step on the foot pedal. It'll hold them there until you get down or get your buddy over there or some darn thing. So then the other nice thing about it is a lot of the fish houses, I know a lot of the manufactured ones, you got your sink and your stove and your fridge and your cupboards and all that stuff, but you got all the holes down the middle of the fish house. Well, then you put a few chairs in there. You don't have a lot of room to have a couple guys get down on your hands and knees. I know the snow bear guys use them, and they're pretty crunched up in there, so it's pretty hard for them to get around, move their chairs and get down on their hands and knees to get enough room to get down there. So at least you can hold them there until you can get ready to get them out of there.
Oh yeah. That's a really good point. So, as far as it fitting into the hole, that circle at the bottom, do you buy it like by size, or is it one size fits all?
I've got one for an 8-inch hole and I've got one for a 10-inch hole. So I've got two sizes for 8 or 10-inch, which is, probably 90% of your fish house, your augers nowadays. But now they're coming with, a lot of there's a 6-inch one, and I don't know, there might be a 5.5-inch one. The smaller augers, people are out, they're punching 50 holes for sunfish or something, or maybe crappies. But an 8 and a 10-inch is you're pretty well standard. That's where we're at now. We can always expand it because I just order them I order my steel parts, which is the trap head, then a couple of extensions, the foot pedal and stuff. And then once I get all these parts home, I rivet the steel all together, except for the extensions, which are adjustable. And what I did is, for the 8-inch auger, the trap head is actually 6 inches. So there's about an inch around the outside for a little bit of play. And I did that because sometimes you go home at night and you come back the next day and the 8-inch hole is not 8 inches anymore.
Oh.
So you don't have to auger every day. And the plate for the 10-inch hole is 8 inches. So there's an inch around the outside. So there's a little bit of margin for error there. So
that's actually very thoughtful. I would not have even considered that whole changing size. That's really funny. Obviously, that's why you said, this is not like the first iteration of this product. Like, you have unfortunately been through the years of the struggle, but you've been able to put this to the test and find what works. So that is a really cool thing.
Yeah, well, with every advantage lies the seed of an equal or greater benefit. So the fact that we were delayed and stuff, just made us work on it a little bit longer. And hey, this works and this works and this is a little better and stuff. And so, but yeah, it's it's kind of fun, going around talking to people and they're out ice fishing and you watch the TV shows. Well, everybody watches all the outdoor shows and stuff, and everybody's got a $500-600 suit on with the reinforced knees, and they got a half an hour TV show and they got maybe 18 minutes of film. Well, I like to go fishing for 4 or 5 hours, but I'm not going to be out on my knees for 4 or 5 hours, So, and this, it fits, it just goes right down to one side of the hole. So most of your tip ups, it'll work with most of your tip ups. It won't work with the big round ones, that cover the whole hole, but the ones that go across the middle of the hole, You can use those. We just put the fish trap right in there and then put the tip up out and pull your tip up and just step on the foot pedal once you get your fish in the hole. So works with most of the tip ups.
That's awesome. We do have a question here from Matthew. He says it sounds neat. My question is, if it's metal, tell us about if it freezes in the hole, or how do you keep it from freezing up?
Well, if you're in a wheelhouse or if you're in a portable hub or something, there's no problem there because it's warm out. If you're outside and it's below zero and it's, right up against the side of the ice a little bit, I just give it a kick about once an hour or something. It might just snug, but it's in the water, so, if you left it for 5 hours, it might kind of adhere a little bit to the side. You could slide it over a quarter of an inch or a half inch too. It doesn't need to be right next to the ice, if it's really, really cold outside. But if it's that cold outside, I'm not out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it runs right down the side of the ice. So you could actually slide it, maybe a half inch away from the side of the ice. It won't, but I tell you how durable they are. I got a buddy of mine that he was out fishing with it and he forgot the thing and he left it in the hole and he come back about 3 days later and the hole was solid ice. Well, that's kind of a foolish thing to do. So, but he got his chisel out and he chopped it out and took a hammer to it and pounded it all back into shape and works just as good as the day he put it in,
Nice.
But I got heavy duty steel too, and I've got a few grades higher than probably what I needed. And I've had people tell me, well, you don't need that heavy of steel. And my grandfather had a grocery store many years ago, and he took care of his customers, and the customer is all it and everything. And if you give a good product and you stand behind it, and I said, I'm not going to sell anything that's chintzy and stuff. So if we got a little heavier steel, it might cost a couple pennies more for postage, but it's going to last, So they're solid. And kids, I tell you about kids. Kids absolutely love it. I had my grandson out when he was 5, and he was using it all by himself when he was 5 already. So kids and seniors, and then anybody else that don't want to get down on their hands and knees and stick their arm down the hole.
Okay, so I also have to ask, I love the concept that it can be used like in the house, right on the ice, kind of however you're fishing, this can be. I like how you first said that you honestly screwed it into the floor because you have, like wooden floor that you can just screw into. That's cool. Some people have that. And then you said that you also have like the piece of wood that you can use for, it sounds like a more mobile option or keep your floor safe. And you said that you did that because in case people don't want to screw it into the ice. But the funny thing is that these days people are often bringing their drills on the ice, with their auger, all these different accessories. So if they wanted to get, the metal and then not the wood base, is that something that they could still just screw into the ice like you had described?
Well, they could, I suppose. It's a lot more hassle because the board comes with it,
Oh, it does come with it. Oh, so it's it's not like 2 separate pieces or an accessory.
No, it all comes together.
Oh, I'm
yeah,
glad
I know a lot of people use. Yeah, I know a lot of people use ice augers for their hub houses and stuff, and they're drilling. They're always drilling for something, So, but yeah, no, that the nice solid oak board comes right with it. So.
Oh, that is so cool, actually. That's actually way more exciting. Look at you. You knew that. I didn't get that. I was like, oh man, we're gonna have to buy 2 pieces.
And then I developed it's called a key lock. It's actually on the fish trap. And then I put a big headed screw in the oak board. So you can just click it on and click it off.
Oh, cool.
And then basically when you're done, you just set the board on the shelf or whatever. And then I just hang my fish traps up on the wall or throw 4 or 5 of them in a 5-gallon bucket. And then we're off. So, and then I noticed you were scrolling on my website there. I've got I call it the world's best tartar sauce recipe. And it's actually on my website. So as a favor to the people that check out the website, check out that tartar sauce recipe. It's really, if you're a tartar sauce person, some people love it. Some people use lemon juice. Some people use whatever. But if you're a tartar sauce person, definitely check out the website for that tartar sauce recipe.
I'm a tartar sauce person. I am, honestly. I don't know. I'm super interested. I'm gonna have to check that out. We won't flash it on the screen now because it's like a secret, like an Easter egg. We'll have to go find it. Looking on the website, but it'll be easy for people at home because we did post it in the comments. So no matter where people are watching from, they will be able to even just click that link.
Yeah. So
awesome. Now I want to sit here and talk tartar sauce all night, but I won't ruin the secret.
well, you make your tartar sauce the day before, and then when you're doing the big fish fry and all your company comes, you don't have to, it's basically pickles and onions and whatever, but and then set it in the fridge because it's always better the next day, just like chili. So, make it, right, make it. Things. make it the day before your fish fry and you're all ready to go with it. So
what do you have for a price on these things?
The 8-inch ones are $79.95 and the 10-inch are $84.95.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And I put a personal lifetime warranty on it. Anything happens, call me and I'll fix it or give you a new one. Or give you your money back if you got an issue. So I'm just old style. I don't have all that stuff printed on all my literature and stuff because, like I say, it's just me working in the garage. And I got a real good buddy and his wife helped me quite a bit. So, but we're just common fishermen and we just like to help people catch fish. So we'll take care of you.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna be honest. You are our favorite kind of person because, to be honest, I think that this is a huge part of what the expos are about, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so many people live by a store or can order online or all these different things, but to be able to see something that is fresh to the market, or you keep calling yourself like an average fisherman, and I think that's so funny because that's my favorite kind of person, like somebody who is out there all the time actually fishing, right? Like not just trying to come up with a product to make or something, right? Like when you actually come up with a product that you use, I mean, that is the coolest stuff. And so to be able to come and not just hear about it ahead of time or see it on a screen or have to look it up, to be able to come to an expo and see these things, you probably will have a demonstration, to watch it work. And then to be able to talk to you kind of as the inventor. I mean, to me, this is the point of the Ice Fishing Expos.
Yeah, we'll have the demonstrations and stuff. As a matter of fact, this is a crazy story. You talk about two guys out in the garage. This buddy of mine, I guess he's pretty handy. He's a farmer. And farmers, you talk about patents. Farmers patent the most stuff. Actually, they invent the most stuff that gets patented, but they usually don't patent it. They just invent stuff so it makes their job of farming a lot easier. And then some company grabs it and patents it.
Yeah.
But we were looking for a plastic tube to use as a demonstrator model. And we went online and a 3-foot plastic tube was $800. So this guy, he goes to the Menards or Home Depot, whatever, and he buys a 3-foot piece of this hard plastic that you'd put over your windows or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's in his kitchen, right, in the living room, and he's got a 20-pound can of propane with a big fire coming out of it about 2.5 feet. And he invented this, and he's blowtorching this piece of plastic to try to get it to soften up to roll it into a tube in his living room with this big old, 3-foot flame.
Oh my God. That's awesome and terrifying.
Oh yeah, a few eyebrows, a few fingers were, he had some gloves on, but burned a few fingers, so
yeah,
that's just part of being a farmer. But you mentioned, we're doing just online right now. I've got it in a very select few bait shops. I first put it out in about a dozen bait shops, and they said, yeah, we'll put that on the shelf for you. And they put it on the shelf, and I left them a nice demonstrator tube, and they cost us quite a bit to make. And so people can actually flip the lever and see the little fish get caught. My buddy makes these fish he cuts them out of plywood and paints them and puts a little eyeball in them. I don't know what they're not. They're not a crappie. They're not a sunfish. I don't know. They're an ugly fish.
Oh,
But
that's
anyway, but he's got them in the tube, and so we left those at the bait shops, and we sold very few, and nobody knows what it is. It's sitting on the shelf in the bait shop, and nobody has a clue.
Mhm.
And the guys in the bait shop, they don't have 10, 15 minutes to spend with each customer to tell them what this is. They're dipping minnows and doing their thing, so they really don't sell when you put them on the shelf because nobody knows what it is. And I've actually showed it to a couple of the pros, the guys you see on TV, and I said, well, tell me what this is. They don't have any clue. Nobody's ever heard of it. And that I actually Googled it up, and Google doesn't know what it is. So, but some people say it looks like an ice dipper, Well, some people use it for that, but there's better ice dippers.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, but I really
So-
like your slogan on your website, the Ice Angler's Landing Net. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That's what it is.
Well, and here's the funny thing about it is, you wouldn't even think of going out in your boat without a landing net. And I did it one time. I cleaned the boat out and I left the landing net leaning up against the garage, and we're walleye fishing. And sure enough, we're getting walleyes. So I thought, well, we can't lift it out of the boat. So I took a 5-gallon bucket and I set it over the side of the boat and filled it with water. And I thought, we'll just run him in there quick. Well, first of all, the line on your rod would kind of keep him from going in there.
Oh.
But then when we got to fish in the 5-gallon bucket, now we got a 5-gallon bucket of water over the side of the boat. We got to try to lift in.
Oh no. Oh no.
So, but you wouldn't think of fishing in a boat without a landing net. And I Googled it up, and they say ice fishing goes back 2,000 years, and some of the archaeologists say it goes back even farther. And for 2,000 years, and probably originally it was more spearing than hook and line, but nobody's invented anything like this in 2,000 years. So we're kind of proud of it.
That is actually a really cool concept. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is awesome. I guess as a weird random question, if we come to the expo, are we going to get to see one of your clear tubes that you flamed in the living room?
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's on the actually. Well, we were at a show, and we upgraded from the 20-pound 3-foot flame blowtorch, melting the plastic and rolling it. Well, then once you roll it, and then it gets hard again. Well, then you had to screw it together, and on each end. And there was a vendor that had a little jig they invented, and they had a round tube that was about 2 feet long and clear tube. Well, here it's an aquarium,
Oh.
and it comes with an aerator and some little lights and stuff, and they're like $65 on Amazon or something. Neatest little thing, and it worked perfect for our little tube demonstration.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
we kind of over the years we kind of upgraded to the to the little aquariums for our demonstrators.
That's cool.
No more blowtorch and.
That's awesome. Well, I
But-
have to admit, I haven't looked at the map to see exactly where you're at in the expo. But I know that's something that if people are interested, they can definitely check out the expo map and I guess find all of the exhibits that they're looking for. But I know that people might even be looking for, I guess, your website and things ahead of that. So we have grandpajimmy.com that we have posted in the comments section. And then do you do social media?
No. I mean, I'm working on it. I'm kind of the old style kind of guy. I actually about must be 6-7 years ago. My granddaughter was 4 years old, and she's got the regular the new phone, and I still had my flip phone, and I kind of shamed myself into going to get a upgrade to a regular phone, But I do have a website, grandpajimmy.com, and there's some stuff on there, but I'm working on it. I got a guy that's helping me and stuff. So, when you're my age and you kind of didn't grow up with the technology, and you kind of didn't need it because I'm out fishing and doing my thing. And so it really wasn't part of my life. And then all of a sudden I'm in business and it's all social media or TikTok or whatever, we did a little deal, the 4 Outdoorsmen, put a plug in for them, but they're on Bob Country FM every Sunday night at 6:00, little deal. And we went down to their, I don't know if it's a podcast or what you call it, but they're live on Bob Country. And so we were on there for about 20 minutes and one of the guys took a picture of my buddy with the little fish in the tube and everything and flipping the little foot pedal and crap comes up and caught him. And they posted it on their TikTok page and the thing got 50,000 views. And they said they've never had anything like it, and they've been on the radio for I don't know how many years, but they said they had 50,000 views in just 2-3 weeks.
That's cool. Yeah, that's so fun.
So I'm working on the social media end of it, but it's go online and order, and if you have any questions, call me. I post my phone number and I'm available. So.
Well, and the cool thing is that people will be able to come and see this at the expo. They'll be able to come and see you, your product, talk about all this. Hopefully hear some more fun stories because this has been a really great time.
Yeah, and there's a few videos on the website, and we'll have some videos playing at the expo. So I can't wait to get over to Oshkosh, and I know Wisconsin is just an awesome ice fishing state. The Wisconsin people are great. I know even when we did the Duluth show, when the people come from Wisconsin, they were just really, really great people. And I had these 2 guys come in and they were watching my fish trap and watching it. And they said, we got to have one of these. And they said they got a buddy of theirs that's been out in the garage for 5 years trying to invent something to catch fish with.
Oh.
So they bought my fish trap. He was trying to invent a fish trap, their buddy. So they said, we're going to buy this thing and we're going to tell them we invented it.
Oh my gosh.
The guys from Wisconsin are great. So, and I talked to Josh yesterday or a couple of days ago briefly, and, Wisconsin is the #1 ice fishing state in the United States. And Alaska comes in second. Minnesota's third. North Dakota is fourth. You wouldn't believe it, but New York is fifth.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of ice in upstate New York. And actually, and Colorado comes in sixth. But I think they got a lot of reservoirs up, all around that they, blocking up the rivers and, fishing lake trout in 160 feet, in the reservoirs and stuff. But yeah, Wisconsin is #1 out of in the whole United States.
Huh.
And nobody can really get an idea of how many people ice fish. You can estimate it, but if there's 500,000 people that fish in Wisconsin, you can take a guess at how many of them ice fish. You don't have to have a license for ice fishing, so they can't track that. You have to buy a shelter license for a fish house, maybe, but in Minnesota, you don't need one on the portables. And there might be 4 people in a fish house too, so there's really no way to track it. But it's probably up to 50% in a lot of the areas that the people that ice fish. So especially with the advancement in the insulated hub houses and stuff that they got now, and the new drills and stuff where you don't need the gas drill and the old wooden fish house and stuff anymore. You can be pretty portable.
Yep.
Yep, that is true.
Okay. Won't be long. We'll be out. Won't be long. We'll be out there.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's why I took a big long sigh. Is I'm like, man, we are so close to ice season at this point. Like we can almost taste it.
Yeah. And I think the fish taste better in the winter too.
I've heard people say that.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here this evening and talking all about this. This has been a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to meet you guys in person. Like I say, you do a nice job at. I think I seen every one of your little interviews last year at the Wisconsin show, and you're awesome at it. And I like your jacket. That's a nice jacket you got on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Funny you got Vikings. Funny you got Vikings colors on, and you're over there in green, in Wisconsin for you should.
Yeah, that is
We're
true.
fishing too much on Sundays to watch football.
I don't have time. I don't have time. I wouldn't waste 3 hours to watch that for all the money in the country.
Right?
There's so many nice things to do in the fall. If you're not hunting or, you're hunting deer or grouse or pheasants or something, or you're always doing something, you're ending up the garden or something. There's so many more things to do on a nice Sunday afternoon than sit and watch 3.5 hours worth of that. And then, if you don't win, you're mad, you've got a bad attitude. So it's not a good deal.
There you go.
And you can rewatch everything on NFL Network or whatever anyway, so it doesn't matter if you miss it.
Right.
If you miss it, Facebook will tell you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fall fishing is more important than football.
Yeah, but don't say that too loud or everyone's gonna go back out of the water.
I just took the batteries out of my boat 3 days ago.
Oh
no.
We got snow coming in tonight, so I just pushed it right to the end.
Yeah, there you go.
It's time. I'm ready for it.
Well, like I say, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I love talk fishing, and like I say, I'm just a common fisherman, but I just love fishing, and I love helping people catch fish. And early on when I first invented this thing, I'm out fishing, and there's a couple of fish houses real close to me, and I knock on the door and come on in. That's how they, around here, Wisconsin's just like Minnesota kind of. So I come in, and this guy, and I always compliment him, that's a nice fish house you got. It does really nice in here. It doesn't matter if it might not be nice, but I always compliment him on it, But this old guy is sitting, and he's got a recliner, big old cushion recliner, sitting there, and he's fishing. And comfortable as heck, And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way if he catches a fish, he's going to get out of that thing and down on his hands and knees to grab it, So I'm thinking, well, he should have one, And so I've got a lot of people like that, they just sit in their recliner, and at least all they got to do is put your foot out and step on it, and you got your fish, So really, really works good for the seniors.
Yeah. Or for anybody who doesn't want to just fall to their knees or get a wet sleeve.
Yeah. I watch these ice fishing shows, and and there's the flag goes up, the tip up is up, and they come running, and one guy gets down. The younger guys, they're 18 to whatever. They get down on their knees about 10 yards before the hole and slide up to it, And then one guy grabs the flag, but the other guy is down on his hands and knees, and he's going to stick his arm down the hole. There's always a designated guy to get his arm wet, Yeah. But I like to sit in my chair, relax, and have my coffee and sandwich. And like I say, just put my foot on the trap. And actually, once you put your foot on the trap, if you grab the trap, you can just lift the trap up. And I think you might have showed it on your little film there, and just kind of lift the fish right out and dump it in your bucket, and set it back down the hole again, because it resets and operates on gravity. So, and the thing that trips that goes from the foot pedal down to the base or the head of the trap, I use a heavy duty parachute cord. And the reason I do that is, if I was using a stiff push rod, every time you change your depth, you'd have to use a different rod. But I've got a parachute cord, and all you have to do is just untie your knot and retie your knot again, and you've just changed your depth.
Nice.
So pretty much thought of everything.
Well, we couldn't be more excited to see it. I will tell you that. And we couldn't be more excited to meet you.
It's going to be fun.
That's awesome. Well, cool. We hope that everybody takes some time and checks out the website. We know that everyone is going to be watching this podcast and certainly the Expo feed while we are there. So we are so excited to hopefully show off your product in person, talk a little bit more while we're there. Mm-hmm. And if anybody at home thinks of any questions or comments or things along the way, you can leave that in the comments section here. And I bet we could even ask that live during the Expo. Yeah. So thank you again for being here. And to the people at home, thank you guys for being here as well, because that is always a big part of the fun. And I think with that, we'll see you on this Thursday's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.